Ade Oladipo for pro boxing fans with the knowledge of the sport, Mike Coppinger. Mike, excited to be here in Saudi Arabia?
Super excited. Everyone's been very hospitable so far. Love it. And it's just a great atmosphere for a big fight. This is the biggest fight of 2019 and one of the biggest heavyweight title fights in a long time.
Do you really believe that? The biggest fight of 2019? A lot of people have questioned that. Eddie Hearn's come out and said it a few times. He said one of the biggest fights this century. How big is it in terms of the century of fights?
I'm not sure about the century of fights just yet. Maybe I'll have a better idea on Saturday, but it's not like 2019 has been packed with big fights. I mean, what's been the biggest fight of 2019 so far, right? Canelo, Kovalev? I don't even know. So, yeah, I think it is. We had a massive upset in June. Anthony Joshua is one of the two biggest stars in global boxing after Canelo Alvarez, and he's coming to get his crown back. So it's a massive fight, and I think being in the Middle East, being here in Saudi Arabia, we've had so many great heavyweight title fights in different locations over the years, Rumble in the Jungle, Thrilla, Manila. It adds another layer to it.
Do you think that there's a kind of a British standpoint where we're excited, but we're also nervous? We know what happened in June. A lot of people think it could happen again. Do you kind of sense that as well, the mood here? People are excited, but also nervous?
I just rode over to the press conference with Eddie Hearn to do a podcast, and he's very nervous. And I think people should be nervous if you're an Anthony Joshua fan, because Andy Ruiz, it was no fluke. He took Joshua's best shot, that left hook in round 3, got up off the canvas, and then just out-hustled him, out-gutted him, and just was the better man that night. And Andy Ruiz is a guy who everyone knew had a lot of talent. Don't get me wrong, no one was picking him, but it was never a matter of ability with Andy Ruiz, it was a matter of desire. This was a guy who was prized by Top Rank and Bob Arum for a number of years and just never put it all together.
Considering what Ruiz did in that fight, like you said, out-hustled him, out-boxed him, out-manned him, some people say, why is he an underdog going into the second fight?
I think that people just rate Anthony Joshua so much, and they probably are still underrating Andy Ruiz to a degree we won't really know until fight night. But look, Andy Ruiz, incredibly quick hands for a big man, much faster than Joshua, great at cutting off the ring, a good counter puncher. We saw that when he was punching with Joshua, that he was too much. Joshua, if he tries to outbox him, I don't know that he can. I think Joshua has to take the fight to Andy Ruiz, contrary to what everyone's saying.
If you sort of gun to the head, don't sit on the fence here, Mike, who do you think takes this one?
I think I'm going to go with Andy Ruiz, but I got to be honest, I really don't know who's going to win. I usually feel like I have a good handle on who's going to win, even though I'm wrong plenty, of course. This time, I just don't know. There's so many variables. I don't know where Anthony Joshua's psyche is at. I know where Andy Ruiz's psyche is at. He is so incredibly confident, and we're going to see if that carries into the fight. But I got to lean toward Ruiz just because he was the victor in June.
A fight that I think has gotten kind of underrated. No one's really talking about it. The undercard fight, the chief main event between Alexander Povetkin and Michael Hunter. Great fight there. Old dog versus kind of young lion and Michael Hunter. How do you see that fight playing out?
Man, I love that fight. Michael Hunter is a really skilled fighter, great boxer, smooth jab, and he's a bit of a small heavyweight. You know, coming up from cruiserweight, his only loss was to Alexander Usyk at cruiserweight. But he's looked good against Sergey Kuzmin, and I think he's going to beat Povetkin. Povetkin now, you know, Olympic gold medalist, one of the top heavyweights for a long time, getting up there in age, a little bit slower, but still dangerous. And I think if Michael Hunter can pull this victory out, when I ran into him at the hotel, he said he's going to knock Povetkin out. If he knocks Povetkin out like he says, you got to put him right there in the mix for a big heavyweight title fight in 2020.
Dylan Whyte's also back on the card. We're not going to touch on the UK situation. Fingers crossed that gets resolved. Hopefully it gets resolved. He was on the card against Marius Vac. Marius Vac, not what he was, lost his last few fights, got stopped by Martin Bakole. How do you see that one playing out as well?
Should be easy work for Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte's no worse than the 6th best heavyweight in the world, in my opinion. And he's a guy that just keeps on coming. He has the knockout over Oscar Rivas, got off the canvas in July in that victory. He's deserving of a big fight soon. And like you said, we have a situation that's a little murky, but he's fighting. And Dillian Whyte, packed card. I think it's easy work for him. He'll get a knockout.
All right, final question. You are the man with all the sources. We know that. Anything you want to leak to us, pro boxing fans here? Anything about Canelo? I know Canelo's going to be in attendance on Saturday night.
I'm told that Canelo Alvarez's next fight is probably going to be at 168 pounds. Makes a lot of sense for him coming back down from 75. You don't want to lose too much weight and go back to 60. And two names that I keep hearing are, of course, very familiar to British fans, Billy Joe Saunders and Callum Smith. So we'll see if it's one of those two indeed.
There you go, an exclusive there for Mike Coppinger. Mike, thanks for talking to Pro Boxing Thanks. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.